Welcome back to the Dirt Beers podcast. This is episode 30, and we're back. But we are still sponsored by Inland Rigging. Inland Rigging is a machinery moving and warehousing company based out of Southern California, offering local, domestic, and international moving services. Whether you have one piece, complete factory, or even a warehouse to move, Inland Rigging has you covered. With a deep family history in the business dating back to 1904, Inland Rigging continues the same family values that has made Inland Rigging the right choice for so many years. Jonathan, it's been a little bit since I've had to read that tag, but we're back at it here.
That was smooth as silk too, brother. That was fine. That was fun. You know what? I was just thinking about it. It's like we took something out of the Formula One world and we took a summer break there, but
Yeah,
it's been a busy time, man.
almost. Yeah, lots going on. I am going to start it off here with a beer crack. Jonathan does not have any beer in the house, but that's okay.
I did myself
I'm gonna
dirty. I'm
have one.
sorry.
I'm gonna need it because we got a lot to talk about. But I'll catch everybody up. We took a little 4 week break there. Me and Jonathan each went on vacation for a week, and
Yep.
then the middle week, I don't need. We just couldn't get one done. And then the last week, I just recently got engaged. So I had a busy week last week, and she said yes. So
Yep.
Nicole, thanks for saying yes, baby, and I love you. So, but that's where we've been. But I mean, Jonathan, it is just absolutely insane what has happened in the last 4 weeks in the dirt racing world.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, obviously, we've been busy, like, locally. I've been doing obviously like all my play by play stuff. I had a week off. We'll talk about that on our other podcast, Southern Ontario Deer Show, later on from the local standpoint. But from the national stuff, it's like I would be at a show with my band, or I'd be at band practice, and I swear every time I opened my phone, there'd be new news about something. I mean, especially in the sprint car world, we've got a lot to unpack, and I know a lot of it's been kind of talked about already, but, we've got our opinions on it. We're still shocked by it, and you know what? If you somehow have had your head in the sand or have also been away for 4 weeks, this is gonna be a good podcast to run you through it.
Yeah, yeah, a little catch up episode. So we're gonna get into everything. We're gonna get into the Kings Royal Joker Jackpot weekend. We're gonna get into the Knoxville Nationals. We're gonna get into all the crazy switching and seats coming out, seats going in that's going on right now in the sprint car world. And we're gonna talk a little bit about some scary incidents that have happened in the sprint car world and also in the dirt Northeast modified world. So, but let's take it right back to that first week that we took off, Jonathan. And that weekend was the Kings Royal weekend. Started out with the high limits running for 2 nights for their Joker's jackpot. Right out the gate, Eldora, you never know really what you're gonna get, but it was a rough surface for the entire weekend.
Yeah, it really was, right? It just chewed up a lot of equipment, chewed up a lot of race cars, and, unfortunately kinda chewed up some drivers as well. Ultimately, though, yeah, I was after the early portion of the night and the portion of how things were going, I kinda was expecting it to be like the Kyle Larson show. Like, I thought that's all we were gonna talk about from Eldora, and obviously he
Yeah.
started off pretty strong, but by the time we got past some of that high limit stuff, we saw the rest of the world of, sprint cars catch up, and maybe some of the I don't wanna say it was I don't wanna say it was too much of a surprise, but it definitely the way everything played out after that, it kind of got to be a bit of a surprise, I would say. Definitely not the
Hmm.
predictable Larson dominating Eldora storyline that I thought we were all gonna have.
Yeah. So I actually didn't have it on the list, Jonathan, but I just thought of it. The big story that broke first out of Eldora was David Gravel getting DQ'd from the first night at High Limits because of a nose wing measurement infraction. So what happened is David's nose wing, I don't know the exact measurement, but there's a measurement where the nose wing needs to be a certain distance from the front of the front axle to the front of the nose wing. And David's car was not within spec enough that the team at High Limit said, you know what, there's nothing we can do about it. You've been DQ'd. So that obviously starts the rumor mill. Is High Limit going after the World Outlaw champion just because he ran this race, and they're trying to find anything that they can to DQ him? And I just the internet blew up, Jonathan.
Yeah, and you gotta think about it too with the fact that, David Gravel, obviously no stranger to success, comes off the fact that last year he was the defending winner of the Kings Royal. He's trying to hit the ground running, trying to start with a leg up. And I guess that kind of really sparked the rivalry that we had too. Is David Gravel and Kyle Larson start to kind of
Yeah.
go at each other, right? And you got to wonder if this was kind of the inciting incident to all of it. Do I think that do I think that it was intentional, or do I think that there's any kind of conspiracy to get Gravel? I don't really believe that, but I also believe that because Gravel's not a regular runner, he was scrutinized a little bit more in tech because the tech officials probably just don't see that car as often, right? As they do their
Yeah.
regular guys. So, um, are they checking the front wing measurements on every single high limit guy that comes through? I can't sit here and say that they do or don't. I don't know. I
Hmm.
wasn't in that tech area. But
Yeah.
it does make sense to me that a guy who is a bit of an outsider to the series is going to have a little ticky tacky call like that go against him.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. You know, they obviously they do everything they can to make sure that everybody's playing within the same rules. And there's leniences on these measurements. Like it doesn't have to be exact, but it was just that David's wing was just so, or not so far, but just enough out of that lenience that they said like there's nothing we can do about this. So that's the way it started. Second night, main Joker jackpot night, it was Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson gets the win in the $100,000. Um, I mean, it wasn't the race was good, but it was one of those, where you saw Kyle get out and you knew it was probably over.
Yeah, right. It's one of those things where if Larson gets out in front of any race, it's very rare that you're going to see anybody run him down.
Yeah,
Um, it's obviously exciting if there is some kind of pursuit, but that's the thing that separated this one is it didn't really feel like any of the runners were that close to challenging him on that night.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So then I want to get into they moved next to the World Outlaw night, but just before that, after that last high limit night, we have the next morning breaking news. Gio Selzy departs his ride at KPC um without any like notice or like rumblings or anything. It was just after that night he wrecked
Hmm.
the final night of the high limit portion. Pretty bad. He got in a bad it was a good ride. Luckily he was not injured or anything.
Hmm.
But yeah, that night he decides they're gonna part ways and he's heading home.
Yeah, that was kind of strange. I mean, you never know what the conversations were like behind the scenes. It optically kind of looks like I don't know if you agree with this, but didn't it kind of seem like maybe Geo crashed because the car wasn't doing what he needed it to do, and he feels like there's a risk involved, and he just wants to find a team that's going to listen to him and a little bit more on car. Like it's so hard to speculate on what the
Yeah.
exact reasons were, but like the optics of literally having that kind of crash, and then the next day you're out of a ride and it's your choice to leave that ride. I mean, like there's got to be something a little bit deeper that happened there.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely goes a lot deeper than that. These guys last year were tearing up everywhere they went. They were winning like crazy. This year, they definitely been struggling a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, Gio hasn't been able to put up the finishes as compared to last year. Is it Gio? Is it the car? Who really knows? I mean, he spent I think it was 6 seasons with them. So and they had a lot of success, but
Hmm.
sometimes it is each side just needs a change, and
Yeah.
that can really, really put the fire under some people. And we're gonna get into all that in a little bit, but then we move into the World Outlaws portion of the weekend. Um, you know, I want to talk about though we had three guys get injured pretty severely at Eldora. Tyler Courtney takes a flip, hits the outside catch fence, transported to the hospital. Then you got Aaron Reitzel gets upside down and gets hit from underneath while he's flipping. He also gets transported to the hospital. And then you have Brad Sweet takes a nice gnarly flip through 1 and 2. And I want to say this is where all these crashes took place in the exact same spot. And there was
Hmm.
a dip or something going into one that was upsetting these cars and just throwing them all over the place. And guys are crashing like crazy. But Brad takes a flip, gets his bell rung, goes to the hospital as well. Uh, Obviously, Brad came out with the least amount of injury, had a concussion, took 1 week off, but uh, overall came out pretty good for what the wreck was. But obviously, Tyler Courtney was the worst of it. Took that hit to the outside catch fence, had to get extracted from the car, went to the hospital, did scans. They ended up having some back injuries, and I believe he had a fractured leg. But or maybe it wasn't a fractured leg. No, that was Aaron had a fractured foot.
Hmm.
But Tyler had successful back surgery, but he is out for the rest of the season. Um, then you get Aaron. When he got out of the car, like he got out of the car on his own, Aaron did, but you could tell right away something was wrong. He was limping bad. He comes away with fractured foot, and I want to say maybe a fractured ankle as well. But three great drivers that now are all of a sudden not able to race.
And if you're the series and the teams and everybody else, you got to be so pissed at the facility, right? But at the same time, like we've both spent enough time around the racetracks that when those things happen, like dips and holes in the racetrack, those are not overnight fixes. That is usually
No.
you're digging up the racetrack and completely reconstructing it, which, I think to the average dirt fan or maybe just like the casual fan, they don't really think about it that way, right? If
Yeah.
there's a dip or a bump or something um in asphalt, you know that they can just throw a patch over it and it's good to go. Or and if they really need to fix it, they'll have a repave in the off season, right? You can
Yeah.
get by if you're running an asphalt series. In the dirt world, there's no pouring some dirt over top of it and filling the hole because
Yeah.
if it's sinking down into the racetrack, there's something underneath that surface that's causing that sink down, and no
Hmm.
matter how much you clay and dirt and everything else you put on top, it's just going to continue down. It's not like the
Yeah.
NHL when they've got a hole in the ice and you just see the water ball come out and they pat it down with the puck. Like
Yeah.
there's a bigger process at work, and it kind of I think was one of those things where everybody just had to live with it, and unfortunately it took out three really good drivers.
Yeah. And I want to give kudos to Tony and the Eldora crew because they worked on the track every night. They were out there till
Hmm.
2, 3 in the morning, farming it, trying to get rid of this bump or make it at least a little bit more manageable. So it wasn't like they weren't trying to get rid of it.
Hmm.
Obviously nobody wants what happened. But sometimes it's just the nature of the beast. These guys know what they sign up for. They get in these race cars and go to put a show on for everybody. So
Yeah.
um but so continuing with uh we'll finish up with Eldora what happened. So the overall winner for the Kings Royal, King Anthony Macri, the 42nd, put one up for the PA posse on the board. I'm sure PA was very happy with that race. And it was honestly great race. And
Hmm.
Anthony did exactly what he needed to do and put the 39M in victory lane.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's one of those nights where he executed, right? Obviously, you get that gift of starting second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you're still tasked with holding off Rico, who
Yep.
I would say between all the series kind of this summer, other than maybe Carson Macedo, it kind of feels like Rico's been the hottest or at least the most consistent, like race
Yeah.
after race after race. Larson obviously was in the mix, gained 5 spots. You saw Gravel go 19th to 5th, like big mover of the night for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, would have been interesting to see if Gravel starts instead of 19th, 14th or something like that.
Yeah.
What can he do there? Does he get there in the end? But even Logan Schuchart had a great run going up 21st to 8th, right? But
Yeah.
that's what you want to do. If you get that opportunity to start up front and you can get out to a lead early and you can just coast and manage the race, that's what that's the perfect execution. So,
Yeah.
got to give full marks to Anthony Macri for executing and taking advantage of the opportunity he was given.
For sure. So closing out Eldora, after Eldora, we get the news that former guest of the show, our very first guest actually, Clinton Boyles, departs Vermeer Motorsports as the crew chief on the 55. Um, I mean, I haven't to this day I haven't talked to Clinton about it. But obviously there was a reason, and he felt like he needed to change it up, do something different, so he decided to part ways with the team. So we had that announcement, but then we had, as we talked about earlier, Gio left the 18 car. We then found out who was going to fill the 18C, and that's also former guest Emerson Axum gets the opportunity to fill in on the 18 car.
Yeah, I think has done a pretty decent job with it so far, honestly. Like, for his age and his experience, right? I think that's the big thing that, um, you know, this almost feels like, and I don't know if you agree with it, but it almost feels like this is more of a move about next year, maybe, right? If you can get
Mm-hmm.
a young driver, get him situated with the team, get him involved, get him comfortable with the organization, get him comfortable with the car, all that sort of stuff. That that's almost like you can use the rest of 2025 to be testing to come back stronger with 2026, which I don't know if it's been confirmed that he has the ride any longer than 2025,
No.
but I feel like this is a pretty good audition process for both team and driver.
Yeah, for sure. It's an incredible opportunity for Emerson. I'm I know there has not been an announcement about 2026. I feel like for a lot of these situations we're going to talk about, it's literally just feeling out what is going on for the latter half of the season, see how everybody gels, what the results are like, and then make a decision from there.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, Emerson, not that his own stuff and the team he was with wasn't good equipment, but this is just the next level. You know, we get to see what he can do in one of the top tier rides on the tour. Um, but then we also found out just shortly after that the former 18 driver of Gio Scelzi now is gonna fill in for Tyler Courtney, who is out for the rest of the season in the 7BC car.
Mhm.
So Gio goes from full time World Outlaw driver for half a season, now gets in the 7BC, is now full time high limit driver for the latter half of the season.
Which is interesting, right? Because you get a different set of competition that you're not used to. Um,
Hmm.
you kind of get a different. It's not that it's crazy different in terms of format or any kind of how the nights are different, really, but just it is a little bit of a different detail in terms of how you're going to go and race. And I think if for the folks on the 7BC side of things, you're getting an experienced driver with a fairly big name that you can trust, right? Which I think also is something that a lot of guys would want. And I think this is more about two. So you get that experience side of things, obviously. But if you're Geo, this is an audition for every other team because you know that Tyler's coming back and he's going to be in that 7BC. I don't think
Yeah,
there's anything that Geo could do that would
no,
ever knock Sunshine out of that ride.
no.
And I think Geo understands that. And I'm sure the team has expressed that, right? So I think what you've just created is just a great kind of a moment for Geo to audition for other teams and try out that series because maybe the options were kind of limited on the World of Outlaws side of things, but maybe something opens up on the high limit side where somebody will take a second look at him,
Yeah, for sure. It definitely gets Gio still obviously racing for the rest of the year and
Mhm.
just able to show other teams what he can do coming from his old ride to a new ride.
Mhm.
Um, and we're going to talk a little bit more. There's more Geo stuff coming up as well after some more news that broke later on in the coming weeks. But
Mhm.
uh, and then I wanted to put into also Aaron Reitzel was injured, so the 87 car picks up Justin Sanders from California to run the 87 car. They picked him up just before the Knoxville Nationals. And that's what we're going to be getting into here in a second. But Justin also was the one that filled in when Aaron took that rock through the visor at Las Vegas.
Yep.
Aaron filled in for them at the Las Vegas dirt track, but ended up blowing up a motor in the heat race, and I think they were done for the night. It was the last night. So Justin not completely foreign to sitting in the 87. So I think it was definitely a good decision for them to pick up Justin.
Yeah, agreed, right? There's familiarity there, everybody knows each other, you know what you can get out of it. So
Hmm.
I think that's a good fit for again a driver that we know is coming back and more than likely going to be in that seat going forward.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I want to talk just before we talk Knoxville. I want to talk about there was a high limit show in between Eldora and Knoxville, and obviously the 300 drivers all high limit regulars.
Hmm.
So it came up that there is a rule in place for a medical provisional for if a driver crashes or has another medical emergency or whatever. But so I just wanted to go over the fact that Highland had that rule, and two of the three teams ended up taking that medical provisional for the night. Brad Sweet being one of them, and
Mhm.
Aaron Reitzel being one of them. So they were actually it was Chase Rodman, former guest, had a good breakdown on how it all worked on his whiteboard. But it was I don't exactly remember, but it was basically your best average finish was how you were going to get the points for the night. So I believe it was Aaron Reitzel was guaranteed 12th place points for that night for the medical provisional, and Brad Sweet was guaranteed 11th place points for
Mhm.
that night. The one team that decided to race was the 7BC, not with Gio behind the wheel, but another driver. I'm blanking on the name,
It
but
was Cole Duncan.
Cole Duncan, yes,
Yeah.
filled in on the 7BC for Lernerville and actually finished exactly where they would have got points. But still good to have the car out there. The team just continuing on, uh, getting in the groove still and preparing for Knoxville. So,
Mhm.
I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, how they use that medical professional, Jonathan, and just how it was used.
It's really interesting because this is going to be something that I think we run into and see more and more in the era of, you know, these teams are trying to create more equity. They're trying to get more out of it other than just a driver's championship, right? Or an owner's championship.
Hmm.
Now there's some equity in the team. So it's important where you finish in high limits. We talked to Casey Kane earlier in the year, and he talked about that battle that he's in to want to be inside or kind of the area where he's going to get a charter, right?
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, right? So you look at the tight championship battle that was heading into Lernerville, right? You had the KKR 49 leading at 1,523 points. The 7BC was 12 points back. And then you had the 87 23 points back, right? So, you know, for Sweet, I mean, he's probably good enough that he could have missed that race and not got those points, and he probably would still be able to fight his way back into the title. But
Yeah.
why wouldn't you try to exercise this right to stay at the front of the field? Um, the 7BC is a little bit of a different situation because Tyler's not coming back anytime soon. So that takes him out of a driver's title for sure, obviously.
Hmm.
But the team is still in that fight, right? To stay high in the points and maximize their season. I think it's a safe bet. I think it's a safe rule. I don't hate it. I know it's complicated, but Chase's breakdown I think was excellent of it. I think the idea is in the right. I think that the intentions of the rule and the spirit of the rule is in the right spot for that particular rule.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. I think it's a great rule to have. And I believe it actually is both in the World Outlaw rulebook and the High Limit rulebook. It's about the same thing. So good to see that the series think ahead of that kind of stuff and don't punish the teams for something that's really out of their control almost. So
Yeah,
um
exactly.
but we'll get into Knoxville now. So I Jonathan, I don't know about you, but I think we maybe gave the Dirt Beers bump to a former guest in Ryan Timms because Ryan Timms goes out first ever start in an A main at the Knoxville Nationals, youngest pole sitter ever, tied for youngest guy to win it,
Hmm.
and just absolutely puts a clinic on and waxes everybody.
Yep. And it wasn't just a fluke either, right? Like he showed up on qualifying night 1 with a great performance
Yeah.
and then backed it up, right? When the big checks were on the line, right? So, if we want to give ourselves credit for that one, I will 100% take the credit. But I mean, even talking to him in that interview, I'm pretty sure I didn't go back to listen to it to confirm this. So I'm sorry if I'm misquoting him here. But didn't he kind of talk about the idea of wanting to put some extra emphasis on Knoxville
Hmm.
and the idea that if he can run there more often, I think he had some more weekly starts there.
Yeah,
Like
he was a weekly guy there.
it makes sense that they put this effort in, and obviously it paid off, right? Because
Yeah.
he was used to the conditions, used to the track, and um, you know, obviously the big thing with that is that you get that you get that seat time, you get that track time, you're going to be fast, right?
Mhm.
You can't control things like lap traffic, and you can't control who you're racing against and all that sort of stuff. You know, is it a big favor that David Gravel started 21st? Yeah, obviously. That's a huge help, but it's still, you still have to do your job, right? We
Yep.
talked about this. It's the same thing with Macri. You get given that opportunity, you earn that right to start at the front of the field. You have to maximize your result. And it's so impressive that Tim's was able to do that at the age he's at the
Yeah.
experience level he's at. But I just think back to some of the things he talked about in the podcast and how much effort they put into Knoxville.
Yeah.
And it doesn't it's obviously surprising, but it doesn't surprise me that he was able to put himself in that position, and then when he found himself in that position, be able to capitalize.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they went into this year putting the focus on Knoxville and being there every week, running good, and it showed. Like he at some points had almost a 4 second gap to second place in the Knoxville Nationals, which is absolutely insane. But
Hmm.
like you said though, like it's not without luck. Like
No.
he had a lot of luck on his side. Hence, David Gravel starting 21st, having a bad weekend at Knoxville. Couple like some other guys starting further and further back, and then just timing those like Cole or Carson was on him at the starts, but he was just able to time it right and get into one and pull away, and nobody had anything for him.
Hmm.
But it wasn't a lack of trying from everybody else in the field. I mean, Knoxville's a beast, and it can be it's so different every year. But congrats to Ryan Timms, man. That was a fun race to watch, and just the whole Knoxville weekend is always, it gives you chills even just sitting on the couch watching these guys race at this place.
Yeah, and I got a couple things to note here. The something I wanted to note is I felt like it kind of feels like, I don't know if you maybe agree with this, but I'm going to call him the driver of the summer right now in Carson Macedo in that 41 car.
Okay.
And that I remember being asked the day of, I was on air on Hits FM, and somebody was asking me for my like open mics portion of the show, like what's my Knoxville pick, and I gravitated to Carson just because of kind of how he's been running, and that 41 seems to be peaking at the right time. Obviously, didn't have a bad run, but you start
No,
second
yeah.
and you back up, right? Um, whereas Ryan Timms was able to do what he needed to do and stay out front, right?
Hmm.
And that's just something that you can say that I think that's something that when you give that context for a driver to be as hot as Carson has been, as the team has been peaking the way it's been peaking, all that sort of stuff, and he can't hang with Tim's, like, again, I just think that makes Tim's feat that much more impressive.
Yeah.
And what it makes me think about too is that if you're a team now, right, with a young driver especially, but any kind of driver really, if you want to win Knoxville, why do you not just copy the formula of running Knoxville weekly, like basing your team
Hmm.
up in that area and making sure that you're starting as often as you can at Knoxville, running as many races as you can there, getting as much seat time as you can at Knoxville, or maybe you do the same thing with Eldora or whatever
Hmm.
event you want to pick, whatever track you want to put emphasis in. I think we just saw the blueprint of what can happen and when a team really hones in and focuses in, and when a driver really hones in and focuses in on one track, and in particular a crown jewel event.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the more laps you get, the better your notebook's gonna be, the more resources you're gonna have to go look back on, and just the more comfortable you are around that track. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it was just an amazing feat to watch. Another guy that's not a weekly runner and really doesn't need to be, but has probably the most laps out of almost anybody at Knoxville Raceway, Donny Schatz. So Donny struggled. Donnie's been struggling. So Donnie struggles all weekend, ends up in the B main. I think he started 11th in the B main on Saturday.
Hmm.
So somewhere around there. And puts it in the show, passes Chris Wyndham for the last transfer spot on I think 2 to go.
Hmm.
And gets into his 27th A main start in a row at Knoxville. Like just insane. I like
Hmm.
the how can you can never bet against this guy ever because when the pressure's on, he's there. He makes it happen.
He just knows how to squeeze that last drop, that so slight drop of the whatever's in the tank, that magic, that secret sauce to get in the show, to make it happen. It really is impressive, and it's special. And I think it's something that we're going to break down the full Donny story and the full news and everything that we've got going on.
Yeah.
But it's it's something that I think we can all kind of look back on and be like, even at his worst or even when he's struggling, he still is just so good. And there's no replacement for seat time. There is no beating the 10,000-hour rule. I was really impressed that he was able to, you know, make a chicken salad out of chicken turds, so to speak. So it's
Like you said in his interview, they got kissed on the ding dong by a fairy.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And how of course he's got a great saying about it, right?
Yeah.
And so again, it's just one of those things where it was nice that the story worked out the way it did, because even
Yeah.
in the A main, he still, survived the carnage and brought it home 11th.
Yeah.
He's +9 on the night. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's not the way he wanted it to go, but it was kind of similar to when we saw him race at Oshweekend, and he kind of made the most of a kind of tough couple of days up north with us
Yeah.
on the World of Outlaws, right? Obviously wasn't the kind of success that he was looking for or what he wanted to have happen. But at the end of the day, that's what you get in a veteran driver. They find a way to just get the best they possibly can given the situation.
Yeah. For sure. And we're gonna break down all things Donny Schatz here soon. But another big switch up or big organization change from the after the Knox 360 Nationals was KKR.
Mm-hmm.
KKR makes wholesale changes after the 360 Nationals. Um, Basically, give the little breakdown. We'll talk about it. But Casey decides parking the 9 car on the shelf, not racing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Comes down next, the whole 49 crew gone.
Mm-hmm.
Not so I it was worded very weirdly. I don't think they were fired. They were just taken from the team, I guess somewhat laid off the team. And
Yeah.
then Casey's number 9 crew comes in and is now the crew on the 49 car with Casey himself.
Yeah.
So literally the day before the biggest race of the year, Brad gets an entire new crew. His new crew chief, Andrew Bowman. Andrew, he's worked with Casey or Brad before. He was his tire guy for years before he went to NASCAR and then came back to sprint cars. So they know each other. I mean, obviously being in the KKR organization, Brad knew who these guys were, but the other 2 guys Brad's never worked with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what triggered all this almost seems like during the 360 Nationals, Brad came up light at the scales. So
Mm.
there was problems where like not enough fuel was getting put in the car or something was
Yeah.
going on, and they were just having a lot of mishaps. And Casey finally just said, "You know what? Enough's enough." But
Yeah.
just wholesale changes, Jonathan. What are you thinking on this?
Well, I think the timing sucked,
Yeah,
right? Ultimately.
yeah.
But I think at the same time you have to kind of
Rip the
work
Band-Aid
on
off at
the
some point.
yeah, you gotta have standards and you gotta have excellence, right?
Yeah,
And it just seems like it just seemed like stuff was off in the KKR world. Like, I mean, we talked to Casey, and I think Casey was quick to kind of um downplay his own driving and kind of put it on him as the driver, and that's the reason for issues. Um, I think it was more than that. I think there was something to the fact that 9 car's parked. I think there's maybe something bigger going on. I mean, but this kind of started. When you say this almost started at the beginning of the season, because didn't I correct me if I'm wrong? Didn't Casey Kane and his crew chief part ways at the start of the season?
yes, right
Right?
before Volusia, because Casey was only going to run a pick and choose schedule. Then said, "You know what? I'm going to run the whole high limit tour."
Yeah,
So, and his crew chief, yeah, left right before Volusia.
yeah, right. So I kind of feel like from the get-go, there's just not been the consistency needed. I don't think that things have gone exactly the way that Casey would have wanted. I don't think things have gone the way the team wants. Even Brad, like, it's hard to complain about Brad's season, but it kind of in a weird way feels like a down year for Brad, or it
Yeah.
feels like there's a dark cloud hanging over even the 49 with the injury stuff and everything else. So it felt like a breaking point. It sounds like probably, if anything, it's just like an organizational change. Not really a surprise that a guy like Casey Kane would be able to pull off something like that. You don't forget that he spent a lot of time at Hendrick Motorsports with Chad Knaus, who was always quick to pull the trigger on a pit crew, or, the Hendrick Motorsports was never shy to change up crew chiefs and do whatever that they
Yep.
needed to do to get the most out of a driver. So it's not surprising that Casey's brought those high standards to everything that he's doing now with the sprint car team. I don't think it's necessarily a coincidence either that it looked like Casey was going to fall out of that spot um, for the charter, anyways, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just is a weird little situation, but I think
Yeah.
it's not a surprise that a move needed to be happened. It just seems to be like the thing in any sport right now. How often are we seeing coaches turnover in hockey and
Yeah.
basketball or whatever? It's like the first button gets pushed. Well, in the racing world, you don't have coaches, you have crew chiefs. You got
Yeah.
engineers, right? That's always
Yeah.
going to be the first button that anybody hits.
Yeah, exactly. It's a wild, wild west world out there in sprint car racing, and excuse me, things can change in a matter of seconds. So
Hmm.
now we're gonna get into probably, I would say, even no matter what happens the rest of the year, this is probably has to be in the top three of sprint car stories for this year, and maybe for a number of years. But
Hmm.
the pairing of Donny Schatz and Tony Stewart Racing part ways after almost 18 seasons together. And I got the stats written down here that they had in the press release. So Donny and TSR together combined for 253 World Outlaw wins, 9 World Outlaw championships, 3 National Open championships, 10 Knoxville Nationals, and 6 King Royals victories in 18 years. I don't think you can put that on anybody else's resume other than Donny Schatz.
No, it's quite insane. 234 of 316 outlaw features coming with the TSR crew, right? He is that makes him the second winningest driver team combination behind Steve Kinzer and Carl Kinzer, right? So
Yeah.
it really is elite company for everything that he has accomplished in his career. But um, and it's you can't call Donnie washed. We saw
No.
what he
Yeah.
was. We just talked about it. We just talked about what he was able to accomplish at Knoxville. But it seems like from the beginning that there has been just weird kind of mojo. There was the engine swap. It's like nothing can make Tony happy. Nothing can make Donnie happy. Nothing was working anymore. So you kind of just inevitably need that change.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost feels like mom and dad are getting divorced here in the sprint car world, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
um
It's a good way to put it.
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I read all the articles. It was, it's hard to say obviously without being involved in what is going on, but it seemed like Donnie and Tony just weren't seeing eye to eye anymore. Donnie said they hadn't talked in months. Uh, Tony saying, he's just miserable driving the car. We're miserable trying to figure out a combination that works. It just it's came to a head, and they they both well, I guess they didn't both decide. Tony just decided that what, it's time to make a change. So gave the call to Donnie and said, "Come get your stuff."
Yeah, and you know what? Like, what do I know? I'm not like some guy who's been following the tour all that long and covering it day to day. I'm not in the paddock every night. I'm not in the pits talking to guys. But from my one experience interviewing Donnie and talking about his run at Ush Weekend, you can just see that he was perplexed. It's almost like he can't figure out the speed. Um, it doesn't. It seems like if it was just simply the car, it kind of feels like Donnie would be able to give them the information they need to make the fix. But if
Yeah,
there's something just not clicking, and you know what, you get another experienced guy in Kerry Madsen who's going to go in that TSR car. let's see what happens with it now, right?
Yeah.
Because if Kerry catches fire and all of a sudden things are good, that's not going to be a great look for Donny. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you put two veterans back to back in the same equipment for a single year, you're going to know pretty quickly what's going on with the
Yeah.
program, and hopefully be able to diagnose something. Um, it was, yeah, I can understand it for anybody who's a long time sprint car fan and especially a fan of Tony Stewart or Donny Schatz, why this would be, like you say, almost the divorce heard around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels like that for sure. But like you just mentioned, Kerry Madsen gets the call to come fill in the seat at TSR. Not a stranger to TSR, ran for Tony. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe in the 14 car,
Hmm.
when they still had a 2 car team going on. Picked up some wins in that 14 car. So it's be interesting to see what Kerry can get done with the TSR crew. As of right now, that is just a deal to finish out the season. Rumor mill is flying on who ends up in the TSR seat for next year, but the strongest one I'm hearing is Gio Selzy to the TSR. Could be no back to number 14 now.
I mean, it probably should be the 14, and it's probably a slam. I don't want to say a slam dunk fit, but it kind of feels like Gio's got the personality to drive for Tony, right?
Yeah,
I think that match makes a lot of sense. Um, But the biggest thing is, what is the car doing, right? Like if
yeah,
you're Geo, like I don't know what other offers are going to be out there for Geo necessarily. I obviously there's going to be a ton of shuffling. I think come the off season in the sprint car world, it seems like we're primed for it, or at least a couple of opportunities going to be out there. You know, um, I feel like if you're Geo, you got to get a little bit more information about what really went wrong and what went on with
yeah,
that program, especially this year, for Don to fall off the way that he has. Is it driver? Is it car? What is the deal? What's the difference? What's going on? And at the same time, I mean, Donnie gets that 7 race deal to go to big game and be teammates with David Gravel. So now you know that there's almost no excuse now for Donnie. Like
yeah,
you're in the probably best program right now going, and is it the program, is it gravel? I feel
yeah,
like you gotta figure it's got to be both, right? So um I, if anybody's going to be able to help turn Donnie around, it should be gravel, and
yeah.
it didn't start necessarily the best way.
Yeah, I didn't start best. First night out, lap one of the main Donny destroys the number 15 Big Game Motorsports car, and it was a tentative deal. They only had one car for him, so the deal has actually been canceled. Like
Oh, altogether, yeah.
he's lost the ride already.
I
But
know.
they're still helping him. Todd Curry's still helping him. Donnie has secured another ride. I'm blanking on the name of the team, but their Todd Curry is also giving some sponsorship to that team for Donnie to run the number 15 in green. It's a green car, green and white, black car. Kind of a little bit of throwback to when he was sponsored by Articat
Hmm.
at TSR, which is kind of cool. I always liked that car. So Donnie still ends up with a C, still racing on the tour. This is a 5 race deal that he's got with these guys right now
Hmm.
till the end of August. So we're gonna be seeing Donnie switch seats again into another sprint car at some point.
You know, this is the question that comes up to me, right? You just saw Casey walk things back. He's 45. Donnie's going through what he's going at 48. We just saw a 19-year-old kid win Knoxville. Are we finally seeing the dirt world and especially the sprint car world fully migrate to the young man's game?
That's yeah. I feel like we're seeing a changing of the guard. It was the same way the everybody that's older than us saw when Steve Kinzer, all Doug Wolfgang, all them guys started to fade out. Now we're seeing it in our where we grew up with the Donny shots, the who are all Kinzers,
Hmm.
Sammy. I mean, Sammy's got to be done at some point here. Like, so we're seeing that migration where the younger guys are coming up and they're showing everybody what's up. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a sad day in the sprint car world when Donny Schatz finally retires and says, I'm hanging the helmet up, I'm done. But it was just it's a pairing that I don't think we're gonna see for ever, maybe ever again. Like the way the how fluid the sprint car world is right now with rides, I don't think you see another team go 18 seasons like Donny did with TSR again.
No, that's never gonna be touched again. Like, that's
Yeah,
not possible. Like, I don't know what Brad's run on is right now, and I don't
with
know what
Casey.
Kyle's run is like with Paul Silva, but I still don't think that either of them could ever touch what has been accomplished here. Maybe, maybe is it gravel and big game? Like, maybe we're talking about them getting there, but it just really is unheard of what Donnie was able to accomplish with TSR, other than, the biggest names in the sport like Kinzer.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so we'll move on to also talking about the KKR mix up.
Mhm.
Uh, Brad's old crew chief Ty Wolfgang was obviously relieved of his duties on the 49 car. Put out a statement, said that he has left the KKR organization, is looking for work. So that all happens right the day before the Knoxville Nationals start. Well, didn't take long. Ty gets picked up as a consultant for the weekend from Tanner Holmes, works with the 18T for the weekend. Tanner ran pretty good, you know. I know he put out a little video saying, how appreciative he was of Ty coming to help them out for the weekend, and they learned a ton about their program. But it didn't also take long for Ty to find a permanent position after the Knoxville Nationals, and Ty takes over the spot that Clinton left at Premier Motorsports, and Ty takes over their crew chiefing for Hunter Schoenberg on the 55.
I mean, w I don't think that's a bad call by any means. If you're Vermeer, like, why not go for what you can do and what you can get? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, Ty's, most of Brad's success has not come with Ty,
No,
right? It
no.
came with, Eric, I think is it Prutzman, if I got it
Kurtzman,
right?
yes.
Yep.
Ty was the car crew chief though with Eric for a number of years. So he and Kurtzman almost like brought up Ty to be the next crew chief at
Yeah.
KKR. So Ty definitely knows what he's doing and has a lot of experience.
Yeah. Okay. So y- it's not necessarily if you're Vermeer, you're not taking a flyer. You're taking a pretty solid bet.
Yeah,
And if you're a tie, you're taking I think you're taking over a ride where there's a lot of opportunity.
yeah,
I think the big thing now, does this shift the pressure to Hunter?
yes. I think it puts a little bit of pressure on Hunter to perform a little bit more now. Obviously, it takes anybody a little bit while to gel together. You know, it's brand new. They're just starting to work together. So will we see stellar results in the latter half of this season? Maybe not, but I would expect to see the 55, maybe knock out a couple more top fives, a couple more really good top 10 runs, and be a little bit closer to the front than what they have been.
For sure. I fully agree with that as well. I think it's going to be one of those things where the opportunity is there for Hunter. The opportunity is there for Ty. I think Ty has a chance to get in there, make a team his own. I feel like if Vermeer's not going to necessarily tell him what not to do or what to do, I think the best thing Vermeer could do is give him a relatively blank checkbook necessarily, or
Yeah.
do give him the best resources to succeed. And then in that case, you should be putting Hunter in the best cases to succeed. And if Hunter's in the best cases to succeed, and if he doesn't, then there's a problem with the driver. And if Hunter does achieve, then all right, you're building a program with some stability, hopefully for the future between that pairing of driver, crew chief, and now team.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna get out of the sprint car world a little bit now. It's been mostly the entire show, but we'll get into some superhero car series action, and we're gonna start off with the bad wreck Stuart Friesen had in Quebec at Autodrome Drummond. Um, wild wreck.
Hmm.
Stu down the back straightaway gets up over the cushion in the marbles and ends up hitting a wall that was an open face end wall. Didn't have anything in front of it. Uh, Hit it a ton. Basically ripped the whole rear clip off the car. And then as he was coming back down the track, he was on fire. And then Mario Claire came in and hit Stu from the back, and you can't really tell in the video, but what I believe maybe might have happened was the rear clip was had just hanging on and was out of the way, and I think Mario Claire just ran right into Stu's seat almost,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't good. You know, Stu, it took them over 30 minutes to extricate Stu from the car, cut the whole car apart to get him out, and he ended up going to the hospital and has some major injuries, broken pelvis, fractured leg. It's yeah, not a good thing for Stu. Obviously, glad that it's not worse, and
Mm-hmm.
the safety equipment did what it needed to do. Just really bad circumstances.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate, right? You never want to see anybody get hurt. We've already talked a ton about injuries and some rough rides that drivers took in the sprint car world. I regularly watch modified racing every Saturday night at my local track. I've seen some gnarly stuff. I've never seen anything like that. That really, it takes your breath away. I've had the opportunity to be inside the shops where those chassis get built and see the things that go on from not just the performance side of things, but the safety side of things and how that is important to Bicknell and to everybody in the modified world, right? So it's for me was one of those things where I don't know what else you could do from a design of a car thing. That was just a bad luck kind of
Yeah,
situation for everything to go as poorly as it possibly could have for the driver in that case. And obviously it could have gone even worse.
yeah,
We're all thankful that Stu's still with us. We're all thankful that he is on the road to recovery. It's going to be a long road. We don't know what the future is ahead for Stuart Friesen, but at the end of the day, it was um, just a freak deal that I
yeah.
hope that none of us ever see again in modified racing, right? So, at the end of the day, that was it was just a heavy moment. So,
Yeah, and I also want to say, we also think of Mario Claire, the car that hit Stu while
mhm.
he was coming down the racetrack. Mario did sustain some pretty bad injuries himself, and is definitely out for the rest of the season. He's announced. So, uh, for both those guys, Stu Friesen and Mario Claire, we wish you nothing but the best in recovery, and hope you guys can get back maybe behind the wheel soon again.
Yep.
But after that, we had another little incident in at the Ransomville SDS race where Matt gets a stuck throttle in hot
Yeah.
laps and flips the 88 car going into turn 1 and 2 at Ransomville.
Which not a fun place to be doing something like that. That is a pretty seriously hard wall to run into. Um, uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, thankfully Matt was okay, and not only was he okay, but they unloaded that backup car, and then bam, he's right back to victory lane at a place where he's won regularly this year on a weekly level, but obviously with the big blocks there, a pretty big one for him, the Ron Martin Summer Nationals, and you don't see it too often where you get a flip to win situation kind of thing, right?
No, I mean, it's not exactly similar, but I can think, we just saw Cole Macedo
Hmm.
flip at the checkered flag. It's almost kind of the same thing. So, honestly, good to see Matt, unload that backup car and make his way through the field and still pick up the victory at the track he runs weekly. He's got a ton of laps around that place,
Hmm.
and for you not to count him in as one of the favorites to win that race is just you'd be crazy not to say that. So, it was a good race. Ransomville held up. Didn't take rubber, which was awesome.
Hmm.
Good racing, and it, it it always puts on a show.
Yeah, it was ended up being pretty good. Pretty cool. The brother-in-laws get it
Yeah,
done 1-2, right? With
yeah,
Gary Lindbergh, who obviously not necessarily a regular on the Super Dirt Car Series, but a guy that's no stranger to success at Ransomville in the
yeah,
modifieds in general this season. A guy that I get to watch every Saturday night at my home track at Maryville Speedway. Comes up and gets that second place finish, which even more so was important because at that point it was Shepard closing in on Williamson for the lead of the series. Yankowski has since passed him back after the last couple events because I was at the very last, was the most recent race where Matt Shepard ended up DNFing.
Weed Sport DNF
Yes,
with
Weed
two
Sport
to
DNF.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was obviously a big blow to Shepard's championship chase because yes, Williamson got that win at Ransomville, but that's only his second of the season. in
Yeah.
17 features. Again, consistent year, 16 top 10s, 13 top 5s. It's not like Matt's off. It's not like
Right.
he's a fluke series leader by any means. But what we were seeing was Shepard building steam, eating into the lead. And now, thanks to that DNF, it's kind of turned things over once again, where Jankowski's now is 88 points back, Shepard 129 back. So there's still 5 guys that are within 200 points of Matt. But if Williamson can just be consistent, this is setting up for another Super Duper Series title for the 88 Buzz Chew team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the name of the game. He's just got to stay consistent the rest of the season, keep knocking out those top 5 finishes, and he unless something crazy happens, I mean, I don't see the 88 really giving the lead back up again. But you never know what can happen. Obviously, I'm still rooting from my pick from the beginning of the year, Alex Jankowski. I think he obviously he is the guy to bring it to the top two. So excited to see if the 84 can close in a little bit more on the 88. But um yeah, I think that's everything. I think we pretty much covered the craziness over the last 4 weeks. Unless is
Mm-hmm.
there another story you can think of, Jonathan?
I honestly have been so dialed into the sprint car world and obviously the modified
Yeah,
world that I haven't even had a chance to catch up on anything late model world. So
yeah,
apologies to our late model fans out there, but we're gonna have to park anything happening in the late model world for maybe the next week. Maybe I guess next week, beef. I don't know, but
yeah. We're gonna work on
it
it.
feels good to be caught back up and back in the flow,
Yeah.
and we're gonna finish the year strong.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna finish up the rest of this season and then see what see what happens. Obviously, like always, thanks for watching this podcast, listening to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Like like we said, I think it was the last episode or a couple of episodes ago. If you want to support this show, feel free to reach out to me or Jonathan or to the Dirt Beers page. We're always looking for show sponsors and just support in general. And we try to bring the best information, give our opinions on what we think of the stuff going on in dirt racing today. And we like to bring it to everybody that maybe doesn't get to see all the stories, and maybe they find it interesting. So yeah, if you want to work with us, just reach out. But other than that, I think you can find Jonathan on socials.
At Jonathan on air. It's pretty simple. Jonathon is how you spell Jonathan. For the record, just so you know, because I guess I have one of the more unique spellings of Jonathan. But yeah, please don't hesitate to follow along. Don't hesitate to follow Beef as well. Big thing too that I wanted to mention, Beef. Comments, rates, reviews, all that sort of stuff helps us big time. Helps us get to new fans. And just gives us stuff to talk about too. You
Hmm.
know, I always love having a comment to respond to, whether it be on TikTok, whether it be on Instagram, whether it be a DM, whatever it might be, YouTube especially. All that is sort of engagement is a great way to connect with us and to help us grow the show, even if you can't support us financially necessarily at this particular point. So, would love to hear from you. Don't hesitate to leave us a message. Let us know what's going on and what your opinions on dirt racing are, and can't wait to get back at this. Beef, what's the handles for Dirt Beers and for yourself?
Myself, you can find me on Instagram at @the_beef. If you want to find Dirt Beers on Instagram, it's at Dirt Beers. If you want to find us on TikTok, it's at Dirt Beers as well. Um, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps us a ton. And like Jonathan said, don't be afraid to leave a comment. Send us a message on what your opinion is on some of the topics that we talked about, or things that are going on in the dirt racing community. Uh, we're just two guys that like to talk about it. I mean, it's our opinions. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. You got something different you want to talk to us about? No problem at all. So, but yeah, other than that, we'll see you next week. Gonna work on getting a guest, but till then, we'll see you later.